So what if illness isn't just some random biological thing that happens to us? In this explainer, we're going to dive into a framework that looks at illness from a totally different angle, as something with an energetic root. And believe it or not, it all starts with rethinking a word we all think we know, sin.
Right, so when you hear the word sin, your mind probably jumps to breaking some kind of moral code or religious rule, doesn't it? Well, the source material we're looking at today asks us to see it differently. It suggests sin isn't really about morality at all. It's more of a mechanical term. It literally just means missing the mark, like an archer missing a target. It's about falling out of alignment with our own natural life energy.
Okay, here's the official definition from the source. Let's break this down because it's a big one. Misqualification of pure life energy. What's that even mean? Well, think of it like this. We all have this vital, pure energy that keeps us alive. And misqualifying it means we take that energy and we kind of stamp it with our own stuff, our distorted thoughts, our intentions, our actions. It's a process that starts not in our bodies, but in our minds.
So to really get how this energy gets all tangled up and distorted, we first have to understand what it's like in its natural state. What's the baseline? What's the factory default setting for our own well-being?
In its original pure state, this life energy flowing through us is described as being totally coherent. It's intelligent, it's naturally life-supporting, and it's self-regulating. When things are running this way, there's no friction, no resistance inside of us. This is essentially the blueprint for perfect health.
Right, so if our natural state is this beautiful, coherent energy, how does it all go sideways? How does it become disordered? Well, the source lays out this really clear step-by-step chain reaction. This isn't something that just happens randomly. It's a predictable sequence.
And here it is. This is the whole chain of events, a 4-step process. It all begins with perception, just a distorted thought. Then, that thought gets an emotional charge. Over time, we start to attach our very identity to that feeling. And then finally, this entire energetic pattern gets translated into our physical biology. Let's walk through each one.
So, step 1, false perception. The source also calls this ignorance, but not in a judgmental way. It just means to mis-see reality. It's when our mind latches on to these core beliefs like, I am separate from everyone else, or the world is unsafe, or I have to control everything. These thoughts, they're like the first domino that gets tipped over, setting this whole chain in motion.
And that brings us to the absolutely critical role of emotion. See, according to this framework, the energy itself is totally neutral. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. It's our emotion that gives it a charge and a direction. So you take a thought based on a false perception, you mix it with an emotion like fear or anger, and suddenly that neutral energy has a very specific and often disruptive job to do.
Now this is where things get really sticky. When an emotional charge repeats over and over and over again, we start to identify with it. Think about the difference between saying, I feel anxious and I am an anxious person. See that? The energy is no longer just passing through you. It's become a part of your story, part of who you believe you are. It's become a state of being.
Okay, so we've gone from a single thought all the way to a core part of our identity. But how does that actually manifest as a physical illness? This is the really fascinating part, where the abstract world of energy and consciousness meets the very real, concrete world of our bodies.
This table gives us a few really clear examples of how that translation can happen. The source connects these specific energetic patterns, sometimes tied to the energy centers we call chakras, to physical symptoms we all recognize. For instance, a long-term pattern of fear, which is linked to the root energy center, might show up as poor sleep or constant muscle tension. Or that ego-driven need for control that's tied to the solar plexus and could lead to things like jaw clenching or digestive problems. The energetic cause finds a physical effect.
So this brings us to this incredibly powerful reframing of what illness actually is. It's not just your body breaking down. It's frozen information. It's energy, an emotional signal that started a journey, couldn't complete its cycle, and just got stuck, lodged in your body's tissues, waiting to be seen and processed.
And this idea leads us straight into another concept that gets misunderstood all the time: karma. In this framework, karma isn't some cosmic judge in the sky handing out rewards and punishments. It's actually way, way simpler than that.
So let's just ask the question directly, right? Is this whole thing about being punished for things we did wrong in the past?
And the answer from our source is a clear, resounding no. Karma is just energy with memory. That's it. It's a pattern.
like the ones we've been talking about, that is still running, still in motion. Suffering continues not because we're being punished, but simply because the energetic pattern that creates the suffering hasn't been resolved yet. The program is still running.
Okay, so here's the good news. If there's a clear sequence that leads us into this misalignment, it makes sense that there's a sequence that can lead us back out. And this is the path to what this source calls healing, redemption, and restoration.
And this is so important. The way back to health isn't about trying really hard to be a good person. It's not about moral effort. It's a technical process. It's about systematically unwinding the exact chain of events that got us here in the first place. It's about correcting the process, not judging ourselves. And look at this. The steps to restoration are a perfect mirror image of the chain of misalignment. We start with awareness, just seeing the distortion for what it is. Then we apply truth to correct that false perception. Next, and this is a huge one, comes forgiveness, which is what releases the emotional charge. And finally, integration, which is where we allow that once stuck energy to finally flow freely again. So what's the payoff for doing this work? Well, the energy literally goes back to its original factory settings. It requalifies itself to be life-supporting. Your entire nervous system gets the memo and can finally relax, exiting that constant fight-or-flight survival mode. And that is when your body's own amazing natural repair mechanisms finally get the green light to switch back on and do their job.
So, we'll end with this question to really let sink in. If we take this framework seriously, that illness is frozen information, it changes everything. The question is no longer just, how do I get rid of this symptom? The question becomes, what is the information my body is asking me to finally see, to finally integrate?